Hey ladies, how are you? You thought I was going to come back in here before a year was out? I had to come back. I had to because there's something I want to talk about before this year is over. 2024 is something else. She is doing her big one. But guess what? We're here to talk about it because I want to help you through this. I'm not helping you, I'm helping myself as well. We're going to be talking about understanding and letting go of the challenges that we've had in 2024. We're just going to keep it cute and simple, okay? Before we get into that, let's talk about what's going on, y'all. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, we have a new podcast studio. I just have to talk about it. I just cannot let this go, y'all. Me taking off the month of December, it's just like, this is what I've been doing, y'all. This is what I've been doing. Getting this room ready, making it look appealing, not just to you, but to me. You know, I was in like a little limbo, like, should I sit here? Should I sit in the chair? Should I do this? Should I do that? But I said, no. Kelly, do whatever comes to you. If you want to sit here one day, if you want to sit over there one day, just enjoy yourself. This is your space. Live it up. Have a good time. And I also just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. For those of you who listen, for those of you who watch, I have been able to really push this podcast to a way that I never thought I could. I didn't even think that I had it in me to even have a podcast. You know, a podcast where anybody would even want to listen and let alone watch. I didn't think it was possible. And here we are ending off 2024, and this podcast has brought me so much joy. And for those of you who don't know, I moved over my podcast to my main channel, which is iamKeliB. Hey. And I pretty much have everything all on one platform. I did have a YouTube channel just set aside for We Age Graceful podcast, but I had to sit back and think about it. I said, Kelly, go ahead, put everything together. And I did consult some close friends, and they gave me some really good advice, and they know who they are. Thank you. And I am so happy, and I just want to say thank you to those of you who have been on my channel from the beginning to the middle to yesterday to 2 weeks ago. Thank you. Thank you for being so welcoming and allowing me to do what I do and have it in one platform. You know, I thank you. I appreciate you, and thank you for just letting us have a good year. But sometimes we have things we want to talk about. So let's do that right now. So let's reflect on 2024. We got a lot going on. We got a new president coming in. We got some new state officials, whoever state you live in, coming in. This is for my U.S. folks. Because I know I do have some folks that watch me and listen to me in London, Australia. So this right here, what I'm getting ready to talk about, is for us U.S. folks. Canada. We got a new president coming in. We got some new state officials, depending on what state you live in. What else? A whole lot. That's pretty much was like, you know, the whole year was pretty much geared around the presidential election. You know, there's some things that also went on in regards to like abortion. People lost their lives trying to get abortions, and they couldn't get it in their state. They crossed the state lines. So many different things. So many different movies came out. I mean, 2024 was something else. I don't want to get too involved in that because I just want to really focus on us as women, you know, us and things that, you know, we go through. So recognizing our challenges, you know, acknowledging them emotionally, professionally, and the personal hurdles that we may have been through, and what those might look like. Those can look like work stress. It can look like health concerns, change of family dynamics, and just personal transitions. I can give you an example for myself. I had a hysterectomy. Early this year in April. And that was something really a big deal for your girl, Even though I was ready and willing for it, it was still a big deal for me because I don't care about a reproductive system, okay? I done had my children. I ain't looking to have no more. That's the only thing that thing is good for, is to have some children. So when you get to my point in life, you're like, get that thing out. People live without gallbladders. People live without, what's that? Only one kidney, and so forth and so on. So the reproductive system is only there to have children. That is it. And when you don't have a child, guess what happens? You have a period. That's what that is for. But yeah, so that's something that I went through that was really big. I probably went through some more things, but I just can't really think off the top of my head. But just to kind of give you an example of what, where I'm trying to go with this, your work stress, kind of repeat that again, health concerns, family dynamics, and personal transitions, So in going through all of that sends emotions. But I want you to validate your emotions. Don't sit back and feel like you can't feel some kind of way. Feel the disappointment, feel overwhelmed, and feel uncertain. These are challenges that you've been through this year. You've been through so much. I know I have. I've had my, let me put it out there. I've had an amazing year. 2024 doesn't owe me nothing. Okay, I had a really, really good year. Did I learn some lessons? Absolutely. I learn lessons all the time. But 2024 helped me learn a really big lesson. It was things that I was doing in 23 that kind of trickled on into 24. And I had to really put my foot down and say no longer. It was pretty much having boundaries. You know what I mean? So don't feel like you can't. I don't want to get too deep. I feel like I'm about to go too deep. But don't feel like if there's something that's making you feel a certain kind of way, that you can't remove from your life. Remove it. Remove it. I don't care if you upset people. People think of you differently. Remove it. But back to what we were talking about. Validate your emotions. It's okay to feel disappointed. Your stress levels. You're feeling overwhelmed because what you may have went through. Again, given those examples, if it's a challenge you may have went through, if it was at work, health, personal, whatever, family, whatever. Just acknowledge it. One thing my therapist told me is to always sit in it. Don't sit back and try to invalidate it. Because when you invalidate, that's when it hurts you even more. If something is actually bothering you, sit in it, talk to it. It doesn't make you crazy or anything like that. You're just pretty much in that moment. I look at it like if you're in a room, if something's actually bothering you, pretend you have a window here and you have a window here. And whatever's coming in is bothering you, it's coming through that window. And then now it's hitting you. And you're like, okay, I feel you. I hear you. And that tightness you get in your chest when something's really bothering you. Okay, now you can go now. You can get. And just let it pass you. And it may come back again, but eventually it will stop. Just think about a relationship. How when you may have dated in your past, I'm going to tell my business now. You may have dated in the past and you date someone and you just can't get over them, but eventually you do. And when you finally do get over, you're like, I cannot believe I was sitting here doing cartwheels and turn around over this person. But it happens. It happens to the best of us, and eventually it will go away. So now we're going to talk about lessons from the struggles, okay? Again, we're going through so much. We have to figure out how can we learn from this? How can we not let this happen again in 2025? Because we have to make better decisions, because we don't want these challenges to arise again. Some things are inevitable. We can't get through them. But some things, sometimes a lot of things that we do can be self-inflicted. You know what I mean? But here, finding, growth in adversity. We want to highlight the resilience and wisdom that we gain through all of this, overcoming these obstacles. One lesson I've learned is to always keep your boundaries. And I had to sit back and think. I almost put down my boundary for someone, and it would have cost me everything. It would have cost me everything. So I had to sit back and say, Kelly, do not let your boundary down. Keep strong, stay strong, remove yourself, because they weren't going to remove themselves. I had to remove myself, And when a person tells you what their intentions are, believe them. Believe them. You know what I mean? I tell you. But, one thing for me, sometimes I have to, how back in the day, back in the day when you was in school, right? And your teacher would make you write down something if you did something bad in school, or if you were trying to learn how to write your name, if it was like going back into like first grade, kindergarten. And you had to write your name 100 times on a piece of paper back and front, or you had to write down, I will not throw spitballs at Johnny, or whatever the case may be, Sometimes you have to write to yourself. Pull that journal out. Yes, we're going to bring that journal back in here. And write to yourself and say, Kelly, you cannot do X, Y, and Z anymore. And you just put your name in there. And then you say, you cannot do X, Y, Z anymore. Or I will not allow X, Y, and Z anymore. Sometimes we got to do that. We got to do that. Sometimes we just have to, we have to get with it, So how can we like reframe this year? We want to do like a shift, how we going to, make some good stepping stones and things like that. I know for me, I'm not doing a vision board this year. I'm just going to sit back and focus on one thing. And that one thing will help me with so many other things in my life. And what's that one thing for me is going to be my health. I know I mentioned it. I've gained 15 pounds since my hysterectomy. And that's a challenge for me. I'm going to be honest with you. I know it may not seem like, it's a personal challenge. And I really, really want to work on that, because I'm not in the department or in the mood to buy new clothes. So I need to really sit back and work on my hormones, because they're all over the place. I'm smiling and kikiing right now, but the hormones are all over the place. And the weight is the weight is coming on. It's coming on quick, because I had a hysterectomy back in April, and this weight has been really, really getting busy. I want to say since July. Yeah. After my birthday. And I kind of know where things went wrong. So maybe I don't need to contribute to, I don't know. Before I get into that, maybe do some more digging and diving, and we'll get back to that. We will definitely have a health conversation topic, and I'll definitely bring that back up. So I have to sit back and think. I just know I started gaining really more weight back in July. So yeah. So to kind of like, get this going, letting go for a fresh start. Like, what are some practical steps of letting go of things that might have happened, these work stresses, these personal things, and all these different obstacles that we've been going through in 2024. How can we let go? What's something that we can do? Is it like pretty much writing down all these things that we went through and like pretty much burning them? decluttering our space. Like, what are we doing? Like, are we practicing gratitude? Like, what are some things that we're going to do to actually let go of all these challenges? Because life isn't perfect. Life isn't perfect by any means. So are we going to, like, understand that we're going to face some new challenges in 2025? And I don't want to be negative or anything like that, but we need to have some things in place so when these things do arise, we know how to handle them. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm going to kind of just be grateful. Show gratitude, be grateful, and be happy I got through my challenges. And anything that comes up, still have the will that I can get through these challenges. So what are we going to do? Like, focusing on the future. Like, what are some of our intentions? Like I mentioned, a little while ago, I'm going to focus on one thing, which is my health, and everything else will, fall into place. And I encourage you to do the same thing. I know we all have some of the same concerns. If it's, if it's career, if it's health, family, all the different things, I feel like those things are like always on the forefront. So for me, like I mentioned, health is going to be number one for me, and everything else will fall into place. Career, I'm doing pretty good. I do want to excel. I feel like I excel every year. I'm going to excel again in 2025. I know I am. That's something that I always strive to do. I want to eliminate the health thing. I want to keep the health at the top, because if that's like me pouring into my cup. If my cup is full and runneth over, then I can always pour into someone else or my family, or maybe my podcast. I look at it like that, because if I'm not doing well, I'm not gonna want to sit and do my podcast or me do anything else outside of me trying to work on my health. So I feel like that's to the forefront, and just have like some good mantras and stuff like that. Like, let me see. I will release the past and focus on the future. Whatever. Embrace what's to come. Like all the good things, I just want to be, all my positives to be on 10. If that makes any sense. I don't want the challenges of this year to hinder me. Like I said, we're going to face some new ones and maybe some old ones, but just knowing how to get through them. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's rough, but we're going to get through it. But I want to say thank you. I appreciate you. I'm glad you were here, and I will catch you in the next episode.